Hi everyone, good evening and good morning. This is Sachin Agarwal, and I am a DevOps specialist working for a particular organization. And today I am here live in front of you guys to talk on the DevOps interview. Yes, I'm going to talk on the DevOps interview preparation, and I'm going to see that how the DevOps interview, how you have to crack the DevOps interview, what kind of different questions you get, what kind of different scenarios you face, and what are the best practices you should follow. I hope you would have given a lot of DevOps interview, or if you are fresher, so this session will help you a lot. By the end of this session, definitely you will have a lot of experience, you will have a lot of understanding in getting to know that how does the DevOps interview, or how does DevOps interview questions has to be answered. Do you have any prior experience? If you do have, I would ask you guys to put a messages in the chat window. What kind of questions you have faced? Are you fresher? Are you an experienced person? Let's try to make this conversation, let's try to make this session as a conversation one, even rather than that's the session or kind of that. I would say that it let's have a mutual discussion, because this is for you guys. This is for you guys, where we need to understand that okay, how not only DevOps interview but any kind of interview you take, right? How you can crack those interviews, what kind of things you need to do. So let's see that what you will have in the chat. Let's see. I'm just waiting for the chat if any one of you have, and I'll try my best to answer all the questions which you have for the chat. Let's start with this very simple question, and let's understand that what is important for, or what is basically what according to you is challenging in the DevOps interview. We need to understand that what do you find the most challenging in the DevOps interviews. Or if you have not given any DevOps interviews but you want to understand that how you can crack any kind of interviews, because moreover the pattern of the interviews are related, so you can definitely put your thoughts on the same. So according to you, what do you find the most challenging? Is it the technical questions, is it the hands-on scenario, or is it the behavioral questions? Let's see your answers in the chat. I'll take a pause for a couple of minutes to see your answers. Yeah. Okay. I think as most of you are well versed with the different questions, so probably I personally feel that that the technical questions are pretty much easier to handle than the behavioral questions, because sometimes the behavioral questions becomes a very tricky for us, and it becomes very difficult for us to understand or to handle those questions. Now let's see, right, that what kind of different questions we face, with respect to the technical, with respect to the hands on, or with respect to the behavioral. Before that, if you have any questions, if you have anything you want to ask, any question you have faced in DevOps interviews or in any kind of interviews, and if you want to ask that, feel free to ask me. Let's talk about the important technical questions. Whenever you go for an interview, right, so how does the pattern start? The pattern starts with a very simple approach, right? The pattern starts with a very simple way, and that is that the very first one is like with respect to the tell me about yourself. You greet yourself, right? So let's say that if I'm the interviewer, and there's an interview panel. So what do you say? You say, okay, good morning, sir, good afternoon, or whatsoever the way you greet, right? And you sometimes if the like it depends on the interviewer, you just ask also that okay, how are you doing, how was your day, and like the different things, so that you just set that environment, you set the stage in the right platform. Now what happens after that? The very first question, where they ask, tell me about yourself, right? Or I would say the question is like, that what are your day to day activities? Like nowadays, more than tell me about yourself, the question has been changed to what are your day to day activities, or along with that it is combined. Now, this particular question, right, that is, what are your day to day activities? Or tell me about yourself, is again a tricky question. It's not like, when we were in college, or like if you're a fresher, when what we used to do, that we used to answer in a simple way, right? That okay, we have so many experience, we do this, we talk about our hobbies, we talk about our different other projects and things. But when we get experience, right, the things like things get changed. You need to talk, or you need to answer the things in a little different way. So the very first is that, you need to understand, you need to talk, or you need to start with your experience, that okay, how much experience you hold in a particular field. More than that, you also need to talk about the different projects you have worked for. So you should start with this, right? That okay, my name is so and so, and I have an experience of, let's say that, whatsoever the experience you have. So you say I have experience of 20 plus years, I have experience of 10 plus years, 12 plus years. And then you move on further, and you talk about your projects, that I have worked on the different DevOps projects where I have used the Jenkins as to create a CI/CD pipelines in a containerization. I have used the Docker, I have used Kubernetes, or I have done the scripting in these and these languages. My major part of the role, or my major role, is into the development. I also take care of operations. I also help you talk to the different clients and mentor the people, or mentor the team, right? So you need to basically tell about all of the things which you do as a part of your day to day, right? You should divide that into the different parts, where it is very important to tell them that how much development activity you do, how much time you spend in interacting with the customers, or doing any troubleshooting scenarios. Or if you are at a lead role or something, you should also talk about your team, that what size of a team you manage, what kind of a roles and responsibilities with your team management comes to you. Now, along with that, you talk about different technical tools, different technical concepts, and other things. You should also talk about some of your achievements which you have done in different projects. Like if you have done some of the migration, if you have converted some of the application from legacy to monolith to the microservices, right? Or from the, if you have basically done the migration from on premises to cloud, right? So the, or any other kind of achievement where you have helped the customer to achieve some kind of a great success with respect to the deployments, or helped in optimizing the cost. So any achievement, anything which you have done, you should highlight that too. Not only that, so you should also talk about at the end, in a little short, about the different domain you have experience. Like, so you must have, experience with, someone works with a telecom domain, someone works with a finkel domain, someone works in a healthcare. So you should also talk about the different domains you have. So overall, you should put a plot in this way. Now that doesn't mean, that you talk about for all of this for 15 minutes. Like you should always talk for all of these things for a couple of minutes. It's like 4 minutes, 3 minutes should be a good time to talk about yourself, where which includes everything, like what are the tools you have worked, what are your achievements you have done in the projects, what kind of projects you have worked upon. Now following up with this, most of the time interviewer, they try to interact with you, or they try to make the things in an interactive way. And what they do is that they find out the question from all of the things which you have told about yourself. For an example, right, with the technical question, with the things, they will ask you that okay, what sort of, so they start, that okay, what is your rating about the different CI/CD tool, how much you are confident in the scripting, how much confident you are in the automation and other stuff. They ask about the different deployment strategies you follow, right? Like you follow what kind of a deployment strategies you follow. Do you follow a canary deployment? Do you follow a blue green strategy, or whatsoever the strategy is? It all completely depends, on how you gonna interact, or sorry, how you're gonna put up the question. So based on that, you get follow-up questions. Now you should not only just say that, okay, I just follow the blue green deployment strategy in our environment. We just follow the blue green strategy, and we don't do any other thing. It shouldn't be like that. It should be a little precise, right? That you should say that, okay, we do follow a blue green deployment strategy, and the reason we follow is because we have certain critical environments and things. So we want to make this a few systems into the live state, and then we want to ensure that few other systems are getting updated accordingly. So whatsoever the strategy and things you're gonna have, you should put it in a right way. The second, important question which comes, a lot of time with respect to the cloud, any cloud or services you have worked with, that is AWS is the most common one. You, if you have worked with Azure or Google Cloud or any private cloud, irrespective of the cloud service provider, but do you have experience with that or not? In that, they definitely ask you about the question with respect to the VPC or with respect to the networking, that okay, how do you configure the networks, how your infrastructure is actually designed, right? How your communication within your within your infrastructure or within your corporate network, and how outside network is flowing through. Have you ever done any migration? Like, have you ever done any cloud migrations? Right? So it talks about that. Have you ever talk about any on-prem to cloud or cloud to cloud migrations or anything? Not only this, but they also talk about infrastructure as a code, because nowadays, they try to understand, they try to see how you have spin up your infrastructure, right? How do you set up your infrastructure? Is it manually? I don't think that anyone is doing manually nowadays, because we do have so many servers, we do have so many things. So they definitely talk about that, okay, do you use cloud formation, do you use Terraform, or do you have any other way through which you are setting up your infrastructure and spinning up the instances. So it definitely talks about that how you can spin up your EC2 instances, your S3 buckets, you're configuring your VPC, connecting the Lambda, and a lot of more. So you should be very precise, right? That okay, what you do, what kind of services you are basically spinning up using a Terraform or using a cloud formation, what modules you use. So based on the question, you should be very very confident about that. You should know how you are basically storing the state, what kind of challenges or the issues you have faced across that. Do you yourself have written like all the code, or if there is someone who has helped you, or there is some other team who is helping you? So you should be very cautious about these things, because the interviewer will ask the question, like he will ask you that, okay, like if you have done in a Terraform, they will ask, okay, where is your Terraform state file being stored, how you actually handle the resources if it is being deleted manually, right? Or what are the different modules you have used, what are kind of errors you have faced. Now with these questions, again, no one is trying to evaluate you, okay, no one is trying to judge you that hey, you are wrong, you are right, right? Definitely, to a level of the, I would say, right, out of 10 to the level 5. So if there is like out of 100%, 40% your answers matters. But more than that, what does matter is that do you really have experience in that field or not? Have you ever written those code yourself or not? What is the understanding of concepts you have, right? Do you have concept understanding or not? Now if you have written the code yourself, definitely you would have been like through some of the errors, you have been through some of the different other things. So you understand, right, that okay, do you have so that is what the interview expects, right? In interview, it is always, the expectation is not that, oh, I will be answering everything right. That doesn't matter, right? The thing which matters is that how much core concept understanding you have. Definitely nowadays, monitoring and observability is again very crucial part, and people talk about Prometheus, Grafana, people talk about the Datadog, the New Relic, the different tools. So if you have any experience on that, you should tell that. Again, there also they will ask you the different core concepts, right? For example, they will ask you, that about the They will ask you about the matrices, they will ask you about the traces, the difference between the loggings, what kind of logs you store, right? What kind of matrices you stored, how you basically, where do you store it, what is your retention period, right? What kind of observability data you plot in, right? What kind of the I would say the dashboards you put in. So all of those gonna help you with the other things. The last one is about the security. That is again a part of DevSecOps, where like the security is not only, that okay, you are doing some uh, big security tools you are using, or you are doing or if you are a part of cyber security domain, and also you are going to do that. It is like everything, when you write a code, you write a CI/CD pipeline and things. So there also, there is a code quality, there is a code security and other things which are being implied to that. So it is important to understand, right, that what is how important it is for the security perspective, not only with the code quality, code security, but you also need to understand your container security, your Docker image security, right? Your environment, your infra security. So at every layer of the DevOps cycle, when you go with that DevOps cycle phase, you see you have to put a security at every layer, with the code, with the test, with the build, with the plan, with the phase, with the everything. There's the security being involved, and that is again the part of your nothing as your DevSecOps cycle too. So like these are some of the, the core concepts and the areas, which are like very common questions which they ask. Again, they do analyze your basic understanding too in terms of scripting, that what kind of operating systems you have worked, like mostly DevOps people work on a Linux Unix flavors. So they talk about, that okay, what kind of a Linux and Unix environments you have worked upon, how do they actually gonna help you, and do you are you really aware about different commands, what kind of issues you have faced, right? So how do you troubleshoot those issues, right? So it is like, again, that is again to be the questions are more, to understand your understanding on the different flavors of the Linux, different flavors of the other operating systems and stuff. But you need to be very very cautious while answering, because as I said, right, that it is always that what we say or what we speak, the answers are coming from the same. So you need to be very cautious that what are you speaking about. You have to you have to be very cautious that okay, if do I really know about this concept or not, if there is any follow-up question being asked. Again, that doesn't mean that you answer wrong or you don't answer at all if you don't know, but the point is that you should put up in a right way, so that the interviewer can, if they ask any follow-up question, you can handle it in a right way. I'll take a pause here before I move to the next slide, where like I'm going to talk about the common technical questions to understand that, do you really have anything. You have any question, feel free to put in a chat. you know I'm here to help you guys. I'm here to answer the questions and the things. Now we'll go to the common questions, right? We talk about the different common questions which we have, right? The very first one we have already talked about, right? That what are your day-to-day activities as a DevOps engineer. The second one is, the very important one is the how to handle the scenario-based questions or the design-related questions. Nowadays, with the experienced folks, but not only with the experience, but even with the freshers, to test their ability on the design skills, right? It is like not the design of your the house or something, like the infrastructure design, how you want to put across the systems and things. They ask, for example, they will say that okay, if you have to design a Netflix, how will you design? If you have to design something like Book My Show, right? So let's say that will be, let's say that it is like a two track show, right? It is such a show, it is the two track DevOps show. How will you design that? How will you set up that? Now the you have to be very very cautious again here in answering, because it's not that you have to immediately answer the, oh, that what, oh, this is this. You should take time, you should take a minute of a time, and you should analyze the situation, that okay, what kind of services would be there, how that networking would be there. You have to design that flow in your mind. Okay, there will be this particular infrastructure services, there would be the VPC, if I talk from the AWS sense, right? There would be the, for the booking and things, there would be some UI framework, there would be some backend database would be there where I'm going to store put the things, user sessions I have to manage. So accordingly you are going to set up that. Now again, they are not going to put up all of those things, you know so they are not going to put up all of those things to ensure or to say that your design is right or wrong. But what they are going to talk about here is, or see here is, how much confident you are in setting up infrastructure from scratch or creating a design from scratch if the chance is being given to you. For example, if there is some new requirement where you have to design a particular scenario, where you have to set up a particular scenario from the scratch, so how comfortable or how convenient you are in connecting all the flows, that is from the UI, how you are going to backend to database to your infrastructure of the AWS's containers, converting them to CI/CD pipelines, how you are setting up a monitoring, security, and all of those stuff. So this is again very very important for us to understand that how we are going to put it up. So scenario based questions are very important. You should look over the different scenario based questions to understand that whether they are actually like to understand the different scenario questions, that how does the Facebook work, how does the book my show design is there, Netflix, there could be anything. They can also talk about something which they have faced in their company, in their environment, right? Or which is something they are basically looking for in the future. So they can ask you the question on anything. Now it can be on anything. So for that, the point is that you should be very very comfortable and good with the core concepts and architectural things, because a lot of times you see, right, there's a very common question being asked: can you explain the Kubernetes architecture? What is the difference between container and image? What is the difference between snapshot and image? So there are different questions, like EBS and EFS, right? They talk about the differences between the matrices, traces. They talk about the differences between they talk the that how you gonna convert any of the particular the service, or if you have any particular the monolithic service, so how you can convert it to microservice. So those are what in a core concepts basis, right? They ask a difference between the SQL question related, right? Delete and the drop. So what is the difference between delete and drop? It's like any kind of a question. These are very basic questions, OSI layer questions. The very basic question can be asked, but what happens that if our core concepts are not clear, we definitely get fail in that. Before I come to the third question, I'll talk about the troubleshooting questions. The troubleshooting is again one of the important part, because DevOps doesn't play only the role of a dev, but it also plays the role of a ops, where you have to go and sit with the operations team, where you have to work with the operations team to troubleshoot the scenarios, to handle the different issues and things. So they check how much your debugging skills are, right? How much comfortable you are with debugging skills. What steps do you follow with each and every step? So example, like what is the, like, you are okay, you are facing a issue where your file system has got full, right? Your mount point is full. Now what steps you will do, right? So definitely first of all you're going to check, the df minus h. Okay, my mount point is full, good. Now next is what I need to check, that which file system or which files or folders are basically occupying a larger space. So I'll run a du minus sh command, that is a disk usage command, to understand that okay, these are the files which are taking spaces. Now I'll go into that particular file and I'll see the files which are basically occupying a lot of space and things. I'm going to delete them, and if I feel that okay, they cannot be deleted, if I think that okay, what other steps can be do, I'll see that if we can move it to some other place. If there is no other option at end, we also go with expanding the size of the particular mount point, or whatsoever the other scenarios are. Basically what you need to do here is that you need to basically put up each and every point in a right way and ensure that you are following a right standard, you are following a right structural point, that okay, this is the point number one, this is the point number two, this is the point number three. Now again, here also interviewer understands or analyze that whether do you have actually debug any kind of scenarios or not. Like, do you know that okay, from where to start and where to end, or what kind of steps you have to be follow. It's not that that you are going to directly delete the files. That's not the right way, right? You can't go and delete the files directly. You need to understand that whether it can be deleted or not. Does it hold any crucial data or anything? Now there is one very common question, which people ask, like definitely not in interview ask, but there is a question being asked that does DevOps require coding? So a lot of people ask, that does DevOps require coding? Now, I will say, that it definitely requires coding. It requires a lot of coding because DevOps is two part, right? Dev is a developer part and Ops is the operation part. Where Dev says that, with the developer, it says that you have a developer and you do have to write the codes, you do have to write the Terraform code, the configuration management, Ansible code, Docker files, and a lot of things to ensure that you build up a right DevOps culture and you build up a right DevOps principle and things. Now, in the similar fashion, right, when you talk about the ops part, the second part of the DevOps, that is the ops part. So the ops part is the operation part, right? Now, where that doesn't mean that you are working like a service desk, or you're just handling the code, you're just you are just handling the tickets or your Jira, coming in, troubleshooting, following the run books, and just doing that. That's not a part of the ops. In the DevOps world, the ops means that you also have to ensure, you have to basically automate the things, right? You need to be very very good with respect to the automation, and that automation can mean anything, right? You should be either good with your Python scripting, you can be good with your shell scripting, you or any other scripting, whichever language you prefer, but the most common ones are being used are Python and shell scripting. So it has to be very very important that that yes, you do know or you are well versed with your the automation part. So that is where the coding comes in for the operation guy also. So being a DevOps engineer, it doesn't mean at all that you don't have to do any coding. Definitely you do have to do a lot of coding. It's all about code, right? Which you just put how your UI developer, how your full stack developer writes all the things into the code, integrate everything together, create a small jar file, create a small package file, and when you run that, so that basically create either spin up a software, a web server, or the website or anything. Like in the similar fashion, when a DevOps engineer basically in your Jenkins, as soon as he writes he runs the pipeline, right, that build now. So there's a lot of code at every stage which is going in behind the scenes and helping you to not only uh, clone the code, but also to build that code, to test that code, to do the security scans of the code, to run the pre-production testing, deploy it on a pre-prod environment, and to go on to the prod environment, and likewise to set up a monitoring and observability dashboards and other things. So that's how your end-to-end setup, from the from the git clone stage till the deployment stage and everything works in. So that is all about the that the DevOps require coding or not. Again, I would take a pause here for any questions if you have any, please. Okay, I'll move on to the next one. That is about the behavioral question, right? Now, behavioral questions, it's like not that okay, what will you do? If there is a war. It's not so earlier the behavioral questions were very easy ones, I would say. Like where they would ask that okay, if I will ask you to jump, if I'll ask you to dance, what is a, or like just I would say that more on that side that if your manager will be angry with you, or like he has shouted on you for some task, so what you will do, or if your colleague is not working in the right way in your team, so how will you help him, how will you motivate him, what will happen if you get a less rating. So it was like different way. I don't know whether like you have faced that kind of a questions or not, but definitely yes, there are the very, I would say, funny questions. But now the things has changed a lot, like because with the different technologies, with the different things, the advancements of the interviews also has been increased a lot. And in the behavioral questions, right, in the behavioral questions and stuffs, there are the questions, asked with respect to the real time problems which you have actually faced. And it's just that, you have to describe that problem. Basically, these behavioral questions help interviewer to analyze or to test your the different strategies what you can use, how you react into the different situations, right? That whether are you really do you really like keep yourself calm and patient if there is something, gonna go wrong, if there's any escalation, if there's any production issues and things. So it all, basically talks about it, how you react, what do you do actually. Now, not only that, but it also helps the interviewer to understand the creativity behind you, because some it's like all, that your creativity, or I would say your presence of mind, with the situation, that it doesn't mean that, oh no, this issue has happened, I'm not going to do now anything, I'll just run away from this situation. So you can't run away from the situation, right? Because that's not the whole point here. Now, there are a couple of questions, there could be a lot of more. I have like few of them listed here, and like which among which, the one of them is which is very important is that, can you describe a time when you had to solve a difficult problem at work? What was the problem and how did you approach it? Now, again, they don't want to judge you, right? That okay, like sometimes what happened that we as a people, when we do give interview, right, we think, oh, that problem like could be easy for him but difficult for me, right? Oh my god, if I tell that now, that will be a problem. But that's not the point here, right? The point here is, it doesn't matter, right, that whether it is easy for him or it is difficult for him. He just want to see your approach and what kind of things you do to find to solve those kind of questions and things. Now, when you so whenever there is a this kind of a scenario, right? So they say, right, that uh, you need to talk about, a problem which basically it could be any problem. Let's say that you are not able to log into server. Now, it wasn't a problem for others, right? But it is a problem if not only you, but if it is the 50 people who are not able to log into the server. That means there is some issue going on with the server or with any environment. Now you need to first of all, put in a right way that what was the problem. Okay, then the second way comes at the cause, right? At why it happened, right? What could be the reasons, what actually happened because of that. Now you talk about, the different steps you have to take, you took, right? And then you talk about the resolution part, that okay, what is the resolution. You also talk about, that the end, that what are the different references, what are the different platforms or different areas, you have viewed, you have basically referred to. If you took help from some of your team leader or some of your mentor, do mention that too, right? That okay, I did tried all of these things, I did take help from this. You did help from chat gpt. Be very uh, like you should be very very like true, like you should be very honest about that, right? Where you say that okay, this is what I did, and I do did chat gpt. Like if you did chat gpt, that doesn't mean that you are doing wrong, right? You should know the right prompts, you should know the right way how to search over google too. Likewise, there could be the other behavioral questions where you have to be where you have been asked, about to describe a situation where you had to solve a complex issue in your professional career. Like that issue could be with anything, that issue, like it's not only, with the technical. Again, behavioral doesn't mean that you have to do everything technical. That can be something, with your personal doesn't mean that you have fight with your wife, you have a fight with your brother or something, right? Means something which happened within that corporate environment, and that again doesn't mean that you had your fight for a personal reason with your colleague, right? So that is all nowhere stands in here. But what actually stands in here is that if there was some escalation, if there was some other thing, right? So you need to understand that okay, how how you have actually uh, solve those issues, right? So you have to tell that okay, I got one escalation, right? And due to our mistake, due to our coding problem, it was we did this kind of a issue, like we did face this issue, right? Or you talk about, the if there is some design issue or something. So it only not only tells that about that what you learned, what was the issue. So you can also talk about the other kind of issues, right? Like with the, for example, if you had some of the uh, issues within your team, right, where like team is not responding in a right way, you are not getting right communication and things from the team. So it is very important to talk about, you can talk about that issues also, that is also one of the issue in your professional career, right? And how did you handle that? Now, think of a time, where the project or task did not go as planned, and describe how you handled it. These kind of questions, come in for the people, when you are a lead level, when you are at a managerial level, or sometimes, that it can be like when you are actually working on some of the critical tasks and the things of the serves. The reason for that is because it is very, very important to understand, right, about those particular time, like that there, if the here, so I would put in this way, right, that here the point is about the timeline, right, that how well you can achieve a task in a certain timeline, whatever the timeline has been given to you. There's nothing to do that, oh, you didn't ever able to do that task even, right? How will you do the task here, right? That doesn't matter until you really say something negative which gonna impact your interview completely. So you have to talk about, that okay, why that task has been delayed. There would be some of the issues you would have faced, right? What you did to resolve that issue so that you would have planned it in a right way, right? So you need to talk about all of those things, right? That okay, what actually went wrong, why it went wrong and all. Okay, that doesn't mean that you went on a leave for a 2 week and you will say that is why it is spilled over. So that is not the point, right? That okay, like that, because that shows that you don't have your commitment towards work. So it should be a good technical point and reason, right? And again, I say, right, that there is no right, there is no wrong answers for these kind of questions. The behavioral question, it is always and always the questions are very simple, the answers can be very simple, can be very difficult, or you can make it complex. It all depends on you, that how do you want to handle that. But the whole point here is that it's just up to us that how we put it up in a right way, which basically acts as a positive response for us rather than making a negative out of us. Now it also talks about, that can you elaborate on the specific difficulties you faced in the DevOps project and how you address those challenges. Now this is again, a critical, like again, I would say the that this is a very tricky question, because now, it talks about, the, like in the project, when we start, when we do, we face a lot of difficulties. And I know that, that at that point of time when we think, so I say we think, oh, should I talk about that difficulty where like I myself was not aware about that thing. No, but he will think that I don't know, so it will impact me. And like you, then you think, should I talk about the other thing? No, but that didn't happen because of me, that happened because of some other person. So here, like what we do actually, we tend to think a lot of things, and due to that we always come up with a situation where we say wrong answers, or we say basically wrong points, and that basically uh, get us in a trap. I would not say trap, might not be a word, right word, but I would say like we basically get caught in that person thing, and where like it is very difficult to understand. So interview, like what we have to do here, in that point, in these kind of scenarios, we need to pick up the question, we need to pick up a scenario where, which basically overall as a team probably had faced, right? Or you help the team to overcome from that difficulty, right? Or it's like a problem which was which was a problem for a general audience, right? And you help them with some solution and things. For example, you could say that, right, that there was some of the issues, with our design itself, and where like we were trying to but the design which we have put up, right there, like we had different complexities, there was a cost being involved with that and things. I suggested few of the open source platforms, and I did some of the POC and the things, and I went with that implementation and showcased it to all of the team members and to all of the senior personals, and they basically looked over that and they found that pattern to be much more effective than the pattern we actually were thinking to implement. So that helped me there. And I was like, when it that design discussion was happening with that, with the cost and things, so it just strike my mind that let me look over some of the alternative options which we can do to achieve this scenario. So it's like you need to talk about something which shows that what other things you can do, right? So what you did, that you did something out of your own curiosity, you went a little ahead, you look for the alternative options, you look for the other stuffs, and you saw that okay, this is how I can find resolve this, and you put an extra effort to put it all of those things, right? So it is very very important, to understand that what or how you can actually help it up. So these are the different these are the different behavioral related questions, which you have to actually come across, and like which you can come across at any point of time. Like there could be any question, with respect to they can even ask, if you have come across any situation where like you had a fight with your manager, where you had a fight with your colleague, right? Or like you don't want it to work but you have to work. So it all depends, on the different things and steps. So again, I'll take a pause, and like I think like this is probably our, the end of the part, where like we discussed about the technical questions, we discussed about some of the common interview questions, and we discussed about the behavioral related questions and things. So where now I'll take a pause again to get some questions if you really have. So if you have any questions, feel free to, put up the questions and stuff. Hey, hi Aradhya. Yeah, please put up your questions. Okay, do you have any question, Aradhya? Like you can only put it in a chat window if you have. Okay, the question here is, that is it easy to migrate from AWS to GCP if you have some basics of AWS, like if you some have some basics of AWS knowledge, I think so, or any other cloud platforms. So see, yeah, it definitely, it's like again there's when it comes to migration, I would not say that, that it is easy or difficult, but yes, I would say that if it is it depends, on that what kind of infrastructure and design you are basically going to migrate. But what so so the here the thing, is that you need to pick up, that what kind of services you are going to migrate from AWS to GCP, because AWS in compared to GCP offers a lot of different services, right? So you need to first of all, I would suggest, that you need to do a little POC to understand that whether the whatever the inputs and things you are getting in AWS, is it like equivalent or you are getting better than that in GCP, right? Then definitely, there would be a lot of different changes which will happen within the GCP, because GCP doesn't GCP doesn't have that much flexibility and things as per my experience, which all like AWS can give you. So yes, the to answer your question, you can migrate, and it is not, a very difficult thing to migrate. But you need to do a POC, you need to do a sort of analysis to understand that with if you are going to migrate to a particular service, so what service in GCP would be best suitable for that, which will give you the effective and the most common results and other things. I hope Adya, I have answered your question. Rather, people mostly migrate from AWS to Azure a lot, or from Azure to AWS. So there, that kind of migration being happened a lot, and there are a lot of case studies for the same, like available over the web and things. Okay, any other questions, guys, for anyone? Okay, I think like there are no other questions or things, so probably, we will end up the our this live session here. It like I hope that you guys have got a great understanding on the different concepts and the different questions and things which have been asked in the interview. How you can segregate the questions from the technical question, from the scenario based, and into the behavioral interviews and things. So overall it plays, it should be an effective one. Feel free to drop your messages and the questions and anything you have here. So it will, like, we'll try to give you the the best of the best answers for that, and help you with the things. So thank you everyone again. Thank you for joining in. Thanks for your time. Good day ahead, and have a good weekend. So yeah, bye everyone. Thank you.
Can I end the session?
Yes.
Yeah.